What time is it?
You've got 20 seconds.
No, the real time.
It's 4:30.
Oh, God help us, we're late again. Quick, tell me something useful.
Well, when he ducks with his sidearm right, he drops his left.
Excellent. Bet the roll.
Uncle, are you sure?
Bet the roll.
Big man's going down. Who says no?
Don't be so skittish. Nobody saw me. This way. Hey, come on, let's go.
This way, Brian. We'll see you back in your place.
I got
Come here.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry? So sorry. Sorry I'm late.
Professor Litton is here. Don't go. Don't go.
Sorry I'm late. I'm sorry. Please sit down. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, my apologies. I was unforeseeably detained in the midst of fundraising efforts. Jonas, let's begin. Earth, 220 million years ago. Earth again, 100 million years later. We now have the Atlantic Ocean and India, the first island continent. Jonas? 40 million years ago, Australia is no longer a part of Antarctica. And by this time, incidentally, all the dinosaurs have died off. I believe that if we examine the western coasts of Europe and Africa and the eastern coast of the Americas, that we will find that they match up exactly, geologically speaking. Now, this endeavor, of course, takes money, and pure science draws little support. But Jonas and I are here to rectify that situation. Jonas? Lystrosaurus. Its bones are found virtually everywhere, on every continent. The kiwi, found only in New Zealand. Sir, it took me 10 minutes to realize that Charles Darwin had unlocked nature's deepest secrets. You have had over 10 years to absorb his wisdom, and yet you choose to ignore it. Why do you think that the dinosaurs died out? Because Noah wouldn't let them on the ark? How, according to you, did the Pacific Ocean form? When the moon spun off of the Earth and formed a cavity which then filled up with salt water? Do you realize how ludicrous that is? Evolution, ladies and gentlemen, is not the enemy of the divine. It is the very essence of the divine. Time to go. And so, in closing, ladies and gentlemen, please remember that the funding of scientific research is a holy activity, as blessed in its way as service to the poor and the needy. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, at least we raised $300 for the fight.
Excuse me, pardon me. Thank you.
Wonderful theory, sir.
Thank you very much.
Excuse
Thank
me.
you. Andrew.
Professor Litton, my name is Alice Hastings. Would you do me the honor of having dinner with me tonight?
I beg your pardon?
I have a proposition for you.
Come again?
A financial proposition.
In that case, I'd be honored.
Shall we say Excelsior at 7 o'clock?
Excellent.
Or would you rather face the door?
No, I'm fine, thank you.
Menu, monsieur.
Thank you.
Madame.
Thank you. If you don't mind my saying, Professor, you have the air of a wanted man.
Not wanted enough, I'm afraid.
Oh, well, perhaps we can change that. Would you mind taking a look at this?
This is a ship's log.
Captain Cook, the original New Zealand expedition.
Did you purchase this at auction?
No.
And how did you come by it?
I found it amongst my husband's papers.
I see. Is your husband...
Dead? Yes, if my lawyers have their way. They want to declare him deceased so I can get on with my life.
You know, I predict that one day there will be absolutely no need for lawyers whatsoever.
Let us hope so. Casper, my husband, has been missing for 7 years.
And you think he's still alive?
I know he's alive. And I would like you to find him.
Madam, I'm a scientist, not a detective. Why is this in code?
Once again, that's why I've come to you.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand.
You were with Darwin in the Galapagos.
Yes.
And lately?
France, to study the Sarknussem vortex theory.
Saknussemm theory?
That the water in some lakes is drawn up from underground by a vortex. It's a fascinating theory, but quite improbable. As you may have gathered, I'm trying to finance my own expedition to Krakatoa.
I hear that can be quite strenuous. The fundraising, I mean.
Yes.
Painful, even, sometimes.
Yes.
Mr. Litton, have you ever been to New Zealand?
No, I'm afraid I have no interest in sheep. Tell me, was your husband interested in the theories of Darwin?
Not to my knowledge.
Natural history?
No.
Sheep?
No.
Then why...
Why did he leave me?
I'm sorry, I'm afraid that's none of my business.
Why don't you try to decipher that document, and then we'll talk again.
Waiter.
Is it still too drafty in here? Jonas?
What? Oh, I'm sorry.
You had that worried look you get when you're afraid you're coming down with a fever. Jonas, do you mind if I say something?
Yes, I know. He asks for it.
Exactly. He thrives on their scorn, and that isn't healthy for him or for you. Jonas, I know he's been mother and father to you, but why he has to drag you into it? You, a Harvard graduate, summa cum laude, handing him skulls and rocks like some sort of magician's assistant.
Good evening, Helen. How are you?
Theodore?
If you don't mind, I'd like to borrow Jonas for a few minutes. I need his help on something.
Three turtles arrive demanding pagans disregard raptosaur.
It's ridiculous. It makes no sense at all.
Now, hold on for a second. If I take the first letter out of the first word, the second from the second word, and so on, I get...
Turunga.
Maybe not.
No. Turunga. It's a volcano that rose off the coast of New Zealand. I knew I could count on you. Perhaps that's why he left her.
Excuse me, Uncle? I'm sorry you lost me.
Well, there's an old Maori legend about that volcano. a passage deep into the earth, underground caverns rich in gold.
Well, I thought she was already wealthy.
She is. She's a Carnegie.
Oh, and yet she wants you to help her find her husband.
Whatever it costs, and as soon as possible. I wonder if he found it.
Found what?
A passage into the center of the earth. Jonas, this is an extraordinary opportunity to witness firsthand the genesis of this planet.
I see. But you do realize this means that you're going to be missing my wedding.
Not if you postpone it.
What? No, I'm not postponing.
Now, Jonas, there will be all sorts of foreigners to deal with, and I have no gift with languages whatsoever. You know that.
New Zealand? Don't they have earthquakes?
Occasionally. Unexpected invitations for travel are like dancing lessons from God. And think of what we'll bring home with us. That most treasured of gifts, knowledge. You know, Jonas, I firmly believe that when we think about our lives at the very end, what we regret is not what we did, but what we didn't do. This is going to be a wonderful experience.
Uncle Experience is the name that people give to their mistakes. Well, I know exactly what Helen would say.
He's going down into what? A mine? Jonas, you get dizzy on the bottom rung of a ladder.
Well, not the bottom rung.
What about your studies, your law career? All that just goes out the window?
Listen, this will only be for a few months at the very most.
Oh, and you expect me to wait for you?
Frankly, I wouldn't blame you if you never wanted to speak to me again.
But your uncle comes first. Why don't you think of yourself for a change?
I am thinking of myself.
I saw this coming. I knew you were getting cold feet.
I'm not getting cold feet. I've loved you from the moment that I first laid eyes on you. I still do.
But what?
Helen, I've never even stepped a foot outside Massachusetts.
And why do you need to?
Why? Because I'm afraid. Of everything. Of drafts and germs and heights.
And insects.
And insects, yes. See, all these pointless fears. It's high times that I come to grips with them.
Jonas, you mustn't blame yourself. Your parents died when you were young. Naturally, it left you fearful.
Why naturally? I mean, the worst is already done, so...
And you think your uncle can teach you courage?
He can try.
Oh, Theodore is a fool. Do what you think you have to do.
Hurry up, Jonas.
Helen!
Jonas. I want you to write down everything that happens. Will you do that for me?
I'll do even better than that. I'll address every entry to you.
So you were writing me letters?
Exactly.
Letters I may never read. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm nervous enough as it is. Forgive me.
Dearest Helen, such a vast and glorious land. So few places where people actually want to live. To Uncle Theodore, this proves that man is descended from the chimpanzee rather than the baboon. Don't ask me why. He is rereading all of Darwin and is impervious to distractions. Ah, Helen, I miss you terribly. Dear Helen, Samuel Johnson was right. Being on a boat is like being in jail with a chance of drowning. There's definitely something to this business of looking your tears in the face. But then what's the cure for hypochondria? I trust it doesn't turn out to be pneumonia.
Jonas!
God willing, tomorrow we will arrive in Auckland.
I'm sorry, that's 3 lamps, please.
Right, yeah, sir.
Uncle, I wouldn't look now, but I think we're being followed.
I had the same feeling myself. How much will that be, please?
£25, sir.
25? All right. There you are.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Blasting caps, that's what we forgot.
I can get you blasting caps, mate.
Oh, excuse me, pardon me.
Dirt cheap.
Yes?
Best quality in New Zealand.
How much?
How many do you need?
Hey! Hey, stop! Thief! Hey!
Yeah, Donnie, take it.
Big Neef! It's me, Johnny Alcott.
Go away. Follow me, gentlemen. My name's McNiff.
I'm Theodore Litton. This is my nephew, Jonas.
Where are you headed?
Karanga?
Taranga. You'll need a boat. I know where you can get one.
I appreciate that. And I'd like to repay you for your assistance.
Oh, you'll repay me, all right. Or you won't last a day out there. Especially with that native boy you hired. Maori see him. They'll reclaim him right there and then.
I'm afraid I don't follow.
There's a war on.
It's the Maori uprising.
We stole the native land, and they're fighting to get it back. And when I say we, I mean you.
Well, I assure you, sir, that the purpose of our trip is strictly scientific.
Oh. Professor. Maybe it was. But it isn't now.
You want to join our expedition?
You need me, Professor. More than you know.
The North Island is home to the Huaca warriors, led by a man named Te Mahua. 2 years ago, Te Mahua was visited by the angel Gabriel, who told him that he was to kill his only child in repentance for the straying of the Maori people. Now, apparently, his followers kill and eat every European they can find. Wow, I was beginning to think nothing daunted you. Listen to this. Even more bizarre? They believe that all this human flesh that they've been eating has rendered them invincible. Bullets can't kill them if they scream certain magic words.
No, it's unthinkable. There's already much more danger than I anticipated.
Mr. Litton, I dislike pulling rank, but it's my money that's paying for this expedition, and I would like to be there when you find my husband.
Well, you might have mentioned that back in Boston.
And risk this very reaction? Good evening, Jonas.
Good evening, Mrs. Hastings. Uncle, I think that we should be going.
You do know that we will suffer extreme hardship,
I do.
and you will in no way be coddled.
I know.
I don't suppose there's any reason in arguing this further, is there?
None whatsoever.
We will stop by your hotel tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. sharp. Please be on time, Mrs. Hastings. Good night.
Good night, Mr. Litton. Jonas, who's that man? And what's in the crates?
I have no idea.
Who's that woman?
Her name is Alice Hastings. She's on a quest to find her husband. He disappeared some years ago while attempting to explore the Turanga caverns.
You don't say. Well, that's her funeral.
Mrs. Hastings?
Thank you, Mr. Litton.
Easy, boys. Yeah.
Stop the wagon!
What's going on, McNiff?
Troopers.
Whoa.
Not those. These.
McNiff! What are you doing?
Professor.
Put down the pistol!
Duck. Duck! Hey, come away, laddie. Away now, before they send the army in. We'll all go ahead on foot. Those troopers, they're not fond of walking.
You might have told me you were running guns.
And risk this very reaction?
Dearest Helen, I've often thought that if the world were full of Jonas Littons, and only Jonas Littons, there would be no cruelty, no torture, no warfare. But I suppose a lot of other things wouldn't get done either.
magnificent.
Okatina, the natives call it, is rumored to be bottomless.
Surely it's fed from the mountains.
They say the monster of the lake is an angry devil and lives in the underworld and makes our fill.
But Phil.
Whirlpool.
Vortex. The Sacklerson vortex. It's a theory that some lakes in geothermal areas actually suck their water up from beneath the earth, like a reverse water spout. It's complete nonsense, of course.
Of course, Uncle.
Kotai Maya Nor. Kekone.
I have the sense that they're not happy to see me.
Madam, I'm afraid that's an understatement.
Has it something to do with my husband?
No, it's because you're a woman. Taboo. To see a strange woman on the eve of a battle is very bad luck.
What battle?
Government troops. They've already been spotted.
Pursuing us?
Very likely.
And where are they taking us now?
To the chieftain.
Te Mahua? It's the cannibal king.
A word to the wise. Whatever you do, keep your head lower than his. Otherwise he'll sap his man.
Pardon? Mr. Litton? Mr. Litton!
Hold on!
Let me
Hold
go.
on! She's with us!
Mr. Litton! What are you doing?
Best not to interfere.
Let me go!
Stand to proceed you. I wouldn't worry.
Na.
Kotai Maya Nor. Te tahi toiwi kekone.
Ai, e tangata toa. Toko toru rātou i haere mai ki te Kimi Gold.
Ke whē?
Ki ngā anō tauranga. I tūtaki ia ki tētahi taniwhai puta mai i raro i te whenua.
Hey,
Ai,
he says Caspar Hastings, brave, stubborn, forceful, passed this way. He and 2 men went in search of gold.
Where? The Taranga Caverns. And did her husband ever return?
They say that the husband met up with the monsters in the earth.
What kind of monsters?
They're not prepared to say. Gentlemen, I have to say, we've come at a very bad time.
What are they doing now?
Maybe it's a purification ceremony for the warriors that laid eyes on Mrs. Hastings.
What does that involve? McNiff?
Traditionally, they may have to eat her.
Well, they're just going to have to break tradition, aren't they?
Of course, Professor.
McNiff, what aren't you telling me?
Nothing. The sooner we leave here, the better.
Not without Mrs. Hastings.
That's up to you. She's not my lookout.
No. She's mine.
What you want?
Well, it's very simple, Your Majesty. I want you to let the woman go.
Why? Is she your wife?
No.
Then why should you care?
Your Majesty, I'm going to make this very interesting for you. I challenge you to a game of, whatever you call that.
You want to play Mu Torere with the Mahua?
Yes. If I win, you let Mrs. Hastings go. If I lose, you can eat me instead.
No man ever beat the Mahua at Mu Torere.
I suppose that's why you play it so much. Well, what do you say? Yes or no?
Man, not so tasty. Maybe I eat you both. Hurry up, mai te wahine nā ki roto nei. You should love this man. He offers his life for you. Two out of three?
Your Majesty, let's be reasonable. You really don't intend to hurt this woman, and I know these tales of cannibalism are grossly exaggerated. Admit it. You're just toying with us.
This is not our fight. Let's away. This is Hastings here.
was lucky to have you, Mr. Litton.
Well,
No, I'm very grateful. What you did took a great deal of courage.
not really. Just an absence of imagination. That's all courage is, scientifically speaking. Isn't that right, Jonas? Whatever you say, Uncle.
Your boat, Mr. McNiff?
Sort of. Well, it's like my boat.
Uncle!
Taranga.
And all this equipment, Professor. How are we going to get it down?
My latest invention. The gravity machine. About 3/4 of a mile. I know what you're thinking. The easier the descent, the more difficult to climb.
But and this is easy?
It's child's play, Jonas. You'll be all right with this?
Oh, you needn't worry, Mr. Litton. My husband and I are both avid mountaineers.
Stage 2 of descent. Find another crevasse and repeat stage 1.
Dear Helen, how many times can you join the human race? There are thousands of cave explorers in the world, and now I'm one of them. We descended in 14 stages, a distance of nearly 2 miles. For illumination, we have several Ruhmkorff devices, whose electric currents provide a reliable light source with no hazard from methane gas. Dearest Helen, the temperature has soared to 140 degrees Fahrenheit, hotter than the Libyan desert. Now, of course, according to the law of increasing heat, the temperature should be 3,000 degrees and all of this granite molten. So we should consider ourselves lucky. So why don't I?
I believe your nephew is somewhat homesick, Mr. Litton.
Do you? I think he's having the time of his life.
You've never had children of your own, have you?
No, I never found the time. You?
If I had children, Mr. Litton, do you think I would risk leaving them motherless?
I take your point. On the other hand, your husband showed you no such consideration. I expect he was somewhat jealous of your fortune.
If he was, he never told me.
No, he wouldn't, of course. He might have felt indulged like a child and therefore obliged to rebel like one. Perhaps you feel you drove him to this reckless quest for riches, and that's why you're risking your life to find him now.
You put things very bluntly, Mr. Litton.
Yes, I've been accused of that before.
I happen to love my husband.
I'm sure you do, Mrs. Hastings, and I apologize for my bluntness. I intended no offense. We're in the primordial stratum now, where the metals ignited in water and air.
Hey! 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 Go easy, scholar. Hey! We're half out already.
My uncle says that there are plenty of underground springs down here. We'll have all the water we need.
What's she like? That sweetheart of yours. She didn't want you to come on this trip, did she? Now you're thinking maybe she was right.
I'm just trying not to think at all.
That's a good trick if you can manage it.
Well, what about you? Don't you have any loved ones that you left behind?
No more than my share. A lady in Sydney and I kind of got back to her.
Why not?
I killed her husband. You understand? You want some free advice? Hey, scholar. If you ever bed a married woman, put a pillow under the lady and a revolver under the pillow.
I'll have to remember that. Dearest Helen, according to Theodore, we're already 6,000 feet lower than the Württemberg mines in Bohemia, the greatest depth hitherto reached by man. The heat is increasing and our supply of water is dwindling. Perhaps the Cygnusum vortex has taken it all away.
Thank you, ma'am. I appreciate an employer who pays on time.
Somebody's been at this with a pickaxe.
My husband.
Yes, quite possibly. Now, the only question is, where do you suppose he went?
Sit. Sit. Hup. Sit. All right.
Extraordinary.
What have you found, Professor?
It's a trilobite. We're in the late Silurian now. By my calculations, we're under the sea. Like the coal mines at Newcastle. Only much, much deeper, of course.
Mr. Litton.
What is it? It's a miner's lamp. Or was. Evidently, your husband wasn't using electric lanterns.
Oh, my God.
Now, Mrs. Hastings, don't go jumping to conclusions.
Uncle, I think I found something.
Is that water?
No. No, it's oily. The weight of the rock has cracked the oil into its component parts. This is gasoline.
Gasoline? What's that?
Come on, come on!
I could give up smoking.
Wouldn't guarantee a thing. Whatever gaseous mixture that was, it might not contain enough oxygen to sustain us. Oh well, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Uncle,
Mrs. Hastings? Mrs. Hastings?
Hey, now look, there's no way of knowing if that's your husband or not. And he came down here with two other men, right?
The Maoris, too. They've been down here as well.
Yes, you're perfectly right. If there was an explosion, there'd be 3 skeletons, wouldn't there?
No, not necessarily. Some of them might have been blown to bits.
Uncle?
If we survived, maybe her husband did too.
Well, that's true. In the absence of further evidence, that's entirely possible. Well, everybody ready? Let's press on. Don't look at me in that tone of voice.
I just think you could be more tactful, that's all.
He knew his chances, slim to none.
Then what are we doing down here?
We are scientists. We know how to estimate dangers and prepare for them.
Speak for yourself. Uncle, really. Sometimes you can be quite heartless.
Bold tongue, faltering steps.
Well, how do we know there isn't methane gas down there?
We don't.
Well, then we're not prepared, are we?
Jonas, you have to put some things out of your mind. That's where they belong.
Okay. All right. Wonderful.
Jonas? Jonas, come back. Jonas, don't go on without the others.
You're bleeding. Come here.
I could hear all of your voices as if you were standing right next to me.
The wall was parabolic. You were standing at the focus, so all of the sounds were magnified.
Sit down, laddie. Come on. Here.
Let me see that. It's a eurypterid.
What's that?
Well, in the late Silurian, the arthropods beat the invertebrates to the land. But this is a completely different branching. An alternate evolutionary scheme. It's adapted to this intense heat and the absence of sunlight.
Do you mind if I skip this lecture, Professor? Your nephew needs looking after here.
Yes, of course. I'm sorry.
Uncle.
Go on. You look as if you're about to faint.
So do you, Uncle.
None of us is feeling too sturdy. I don't mind saying.
There's only one ration left here.
Oh, no. I'm quite all right, thank you.
Here. Nif? What a bunch of martyrs.
We have this. Here. Gin. 100%. Here. This is Hastings.
Thank you. Oh.
This will do for now. Until we find water, which I have every confidence will be within 24 hours.
Is that the gin talking, Professor?
Not yet.
Dear Helen, we've been 36 hours now without water. The liquor sustains us, but also dehydrates us.
Jonas, look out!
Hey! Professor.
We must now make a decision. Either we keep going, or we can try to go back the way we came. If we turn back now, we'll have just enough liquid nourishment to reach the surface again. How many would prefer to turn back?
Well, that's settled. Let's go.
McNiff? McNiff, where are you? Good Lord, now he's lost.
Professor!
Where are you?
Here!
What is it?
Can you hear that?
Give me your knife. It's water. It'll cool down by and by.
I'll get a canteen.
Run, Mrs. Hastings!
Are you all right, Mr. Litton?
Yes, I'm fine. Thank you, Mrs. Hastings. I believe you may have just saved my life.
Just returning the favor.
Indeed. I am truly grateful.
What is it, Mr. Litton? What are you looking at?
Your hair.
My hair?
It's moving. In the wind.
Where are we?
We're back! We're topside! What happened?
We descended almost vertically and then at a 45-degree angle.
No. No? We're about here.
What about the sky?
That's not the sky. That light doesn't come from the sun or the moon. It's like the aurora borealis. It's a purely electrical phenomenon. Above those clouds is a granite vault,
And above that,
a mountain. Above that, the sea.
it's a great deal of weight for an arch to hold up.
God's sake. Built with strong material, eh?
Jonas, you remember your elementary statics?
Well, it can be, I don't know, more than 50 miles across.
If there's salt, I can't detect it.
Hey, I'll stick with the gin, sir.
A taste of iron.
So much the better. Good for the digestion.
Yeah, for that I should have gone to Saratoga Springs.
So you shall, on your honeymoon. We'll sleep here tonight.
You know, I think where we live, what we call above ground, we're in a cavern there too. And maybe the entire universe is made up of an infinity of worlds, all nested inside each other.
The celestial bodies, what are they?
Phantoms. You've heard of Apollo, god of the sun. Diana, goddess of the moon. There's imaginary. You follow me?
Not completely.
So, Uncle, which way do you think he went?
I'm sorry, who?
Caspar Hastings.
Assuming he made it this far.
Well, you don't think that's likely?
I didn't say that.
Well, your tone implied it.
Really? I didn't mean to imply anything. You all right?
There was something slithering around my body. I felt it nip at my leg.
With your permission, Mrs. Hastings. Purely precautionary, you understand?
Thank you, Theodore.
There's no swelling. Do you feel any pain?
No, I'm fine.
Professor! Professor! You might want to look at this!
Go see what he wants.
What is it?
Is that human or ape, Professor?
Human. Male from the size of it. Blunt instrument fracture. Severed at the neck.
What's the matter? That's not my husband.
You can tell that?
Caspar hired a man in Gloucester before he sailed. He was hoping to find gold, so he thought a man with gold teeth might bring him luck.
Your husband was superstitious.
Was and is.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to imply.
I know you didn't. That's where he went.
How do you know that?
There's a rock down by the water with an arrow scratched on it. The arrow points out to sea.
There it is.
Where do you think he was going?
And what was he trying to get away from?
Theodore!
What is it?
What do you make of this?
Looks like he built himself a raft.
He went out there alone.
Yes, and we're going to find him.
You don't have to do this.
I signed on to find your husband, Mrs. Hastings, and that's what I intend to do.
What are they?
A link.
A link?
Yes, between reptiles and birds. Pterodactyls and Archaeopteryx, traveling in flocks. This is wonderful. Come on.
Run! Go, 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 go!
Dearest Helen, after the attack, we resolved to build ourselves a boat. Our blankets served as sails, and we found a plentiful supply of reeds. These we bound into logs to make the hull. We labored tirelessly and were rewarded with a fine vessel. Dear Helen, steady northwest wind, raft sailing fast and straight. The wounds I sustained earlier are healing more rapidly than they would have on the surface. Alice's snake bite as well, if indeed it was a snake.
sea is so vast. The winds could blow us anywhere. How do we know where Casper went? I'm leading you all on a wild goose chase.
Oh, I don't know. I'm rather fond of chasing wild geese. Besides, the sea isn't as vast as you think. It's no bigger than Lake Oneida.
You've been to Lake Oneida?
Summers. When I was a boy.
My parents had a home there. Do you suppose we ever met?
I doubt it.
Why do you say that?
Because if we had met, I most assuredly would have remembered.
Is it time for another sounding?
Jonas, test the depth again. The pickaxe. It's stuck. What's wrong?
Oh, it's stuck.
Yes, it's caught on something.
Here, let me have a try.
It's stuck.
Jonas, let me have a try.
It's stuck.
There. Sometimes it just takes a woman's touch.
We got pulling them lines.
My sentiments exactly. Something on this one.
What deep as hell is that?
It's a Devonian fish. Order Ganoidae. Family Aspidocephali. But these fins, this is something completely new.
Do you think it's edible?
Something's already chewed it. What's the matter?
I don't know. To eat and destroy something prehistoric. It's,
It's like violating a taboo.
yes, exactly.
Well, that's all very sweet, but I hadn't eaten in 24 hours. Hey, Jonas. Get on the outside of that, la. They say that's bad luck. I say it's delicious. Mrs. Hastings.
Thank you.
Well, in Japan, they do eat fish raw.
Clever people, them Japanese.
Uncle, I see land.
Take it up there, Scholar.
We're going to have a look around.
Right, Professor.
Theodore, look.
Raptosaur. Late Triassic, early Jurassic, or perhaps a Elasmosaur.
Is that a meat eater, Professor?
No, strictly vegetarian. With occasional lapses.
What side's the heart, John? The usual?
I'd go for between the eyes. Sorry, but all of my research clearly indicates that these are strictly vegetarian. Alice, you mustn't despair.
Please don't. It's time I just face the facts.
The only facts you have are that your husband came down here with 2 other men.
Can't even be sure of that. Either they perished at sea or that thing attacked them or those horrible flying creatures. It's true, you know it. Casper is dead and it's entirely my fault.
If it is true, do yourself a favor and don't take all the credit.
Do you know why I came after Casper? Yes, you do, because you told me. I did it out of guilt. I felt that I had driven him away, and now he's dead, and we'll never get back to the surface, not in a million years.
Stop it.
Don't tell me to stop it. I'm sick of your confounded optimism.
What's the matter, Scholar? You look like your dog's died. Where's that professor? Mrs. Hastings. Ah, well, we knew that was coming, didn't we?
She's married.
She was married, and now she is a widow.
There's no proof of that.
There's proof enough for Mrs. Hastings. Her husband's been away 7 years. She's been mourning long enough.
He's taking advantage.
I'd say he was smitten from the first time she waltzed into his life. And you know how that feels, don't you?
I thought I did. I'm not so sure anymore.
Didn't you say that you and your sweetheart
No, we never did.
fell in love at first sight?
Oh. Sorry, I thought that you meant...
I know what you thought I meant. Cheer up, Scholar. It is not the end of the world. In fact, it is what makes the world go round. Hey.
Jonas, what are you doing?
I saw someone.
Who?
A girl.
Where?
Up there. You must have scared her off.
Jonas, come on.
There's a trail.
She must have been something to look at, eh?
It was the way that she looked at me.
Sizing you up. Like an animal.
No, not like an animal. I've never been stared at like that by anyone. Or anything.
Yourself up, Professor. Any man would have done the same.
I do not wish to discuss this.
Oh, go on. Confession is good for the soul. I wish I had a shilling for every time that I'd broken second commandment.
Ignace, you are entirely presumptuous.
Well, I believe the sin is on her side. Technically, if her husband has survived, and that is a big if, eh?
I am going to insist you not to speak of this again.
You think you can take me, Professor?
I'm sure I can.
So am I. But why don't we save it for Mr. Hastings? Just in case he hasn't got my sense of humor.
It seems they've discovered fire.
What was that? It was a bird call.
Maybe.
Would that be one of them high-flying monsters, Professor?
You wouldn't find them on the forest floor any more than you'd find a hawk down here. I suggest we make camp.
I suggest that we keep going.
What's your hurry, Jonas?
Well, what's your reluctance, Uncle?
We'll eat something here. We'll get some rest, and then we'll move on.
You know, there's no reason for us to stop talking to each other.
You're right. I'm sorry. I've been behaving like a schoolboy.
Theo. Whatever happens, I wish we'd met a long time ago.
Uncle, look.
Some sort of pomegranate.
It's the girl. I see she wants us to follow her. with it. We passed this tree before.
Maybe. But this wasn't here. Did you get a look at her feet, Scholar? Precisely.
It's definitely saurian.
Beg your pardon?
Dinosaur. A little larger than human, wouldn't you say?
Yes, bipedal. That claw could be an opposable thumb.
Like a primate?
Exactly. Up there they were destroyed. Down here they kept on evolving.
Into what?
Professor. Listen.
Jonas? Do you detect any irregularities?
It has a syntax.
How do you know?
He knows.
Those are not just bird calls. There's too many variations. That's a language.
Any idea what they're saying?
Yes. They're saying, why are those stupid creatures taking notes?
We can't assume that they're hostile.
What else would they be?
Detached, watchful, vigilant, observing us, studying us.
Scientific reptiles.
Why not? Down here, dinosaurs evolved in parallel with humans. They could be more civilized than us.
And on the other hand, they could be on safari.
Uncle! Come here and look at this.
The woman. They took her that way. That way.
That door. Miracle. This is theirs. They must have set this trap.
She's gone. Alice is gone. Where did they take her? The creatures, the beasts, where did they take her?
Ishtar.
No, we have to go find her.
On fire. Maybe we should just do as they say.
On fire! Let's just hope that wasn't someone's pet.
Think they saw us kill it?
It seems they might.
They weren't hurting her. They could have ripped her to pieces, and they didn't.
Well, I hope you're right.
We'll find her, I promise. Look at these huts. Almost Aztec. It's amazing, like Caucasian progress.
Yes.
Hello. Jonas.
Grelna.
Ralma. I saw you.
I saw you.
What do you call yourselves? That's horribly complicated.
We can talk later. I think they're waiting for you inside.
How do you know English?
English?
Well, you're speaking, the language that you're speaking.
Oh, the schoolmaster, but he never called it English.
Schoolmaster?
You don't have school? Fornlick?
Yes, we have fun, but on fire. Ishta. Aqua. They speak English. That girl spoke English to me.
It's impossible. The same language evolving in geographically isolated regions? There must be some other explanation.
Yes. And it's on fire.
Well, gentlemen, you've really made a mess of things, haven't you? I'd like to know your names.
And I yours. My name is Theodore Litton.
Matt Neff.
I'm Jonas Litton.
So tell me this, Mr. Litton. What the hell have you done with my wife?